It's just a little while ago. Put out a
Well, I guess I better.
He's ready to go.
Hello, everyone. And, and thank you all for coming to our program tonight on the Oakdale Tabernacle. And Dr. Joe Kanosky is going to be our speaker. Joe is President Emeritus of Highland Community College and my former boss. I think he liked me most of the time, but anyway, we kind of get along. This is going to be an interesting night. That, as most of you know, the Tabernacle was almost destroyed a few years ago. And Joe and his wife Jennifer, who's retired from the public school system, I'm not done yet, and Kathy and Doug and Mary and several other people were instrumental in not only saving the Tabernacle, but renovating it, and it's an ongoing process. So tonight, Joe is going to speak on both the history of the Tabernacle and also the efforts to save it and renovate it. So, Dr. Joe Kanosky.
Thanks, Andy.
So, welcome everybody. I see I got to be really careful here tonight. Tiger's in here, Kathy's in here, all my fact checkers are here, so I got to be really, really careful. So, information I'm going to be sharing tonight is based on the writings and recollections of Harriet Gustafson with the Journal Standard in July of 1986. The Journal Standard looking backward columns from August 20th and 1964 and June 4th of 65. There were a series of these looking back columns that Harriet had in the paper, all through January 1st of 1968. Also an article in the Journal Standard by Sherry Maves called Step Back in Time, February 29th of 2020. Tiger Johnson's compiled a 172-page history of Oakdale Park containing newspaper clippings from as far back as 1874, as well as artifacts and memorabilia from church camp meetings at Oakdale from 1895 to 1967. Tiger, is your book at the local history, or I know you got it in your car, but does it also reside in the local history? Okay.
Yes, it is, Joe.
Okay, so it's also in the local history, and that's quite interesting to look at that book of things that Tiger has compiled through the years. Much of this information was gathered from the archives of the Faith United Methodist Church in Freeport, and Sherry Maves did that. Roseanne Kuhlmeyer also had memorabilia in the forms of photos of what life was like at 2-week August camp meetings from the earliest days. The local history room at the Freeport Public Library also has Oakdale Tabernacle archives, and they're very, very interesting. So if you look at the stuff that Harriet Gustafson wrote, I believe she expressed beautifully the essence of the Oakdale Tabernacle when she wrote, "If there is any such thing as a ghost, the woods at Oakdale Park must be full of them." And that was her in her column in 1986. Oakdale church camp meetings grew from the first American camp meetings of the evangelical denomination held in New Berlin, Pennsylvania in 1810. So it was an outgrowth of that, started happening nationwide. It wasn't just at Oakdale, all around here. The Illinois Conference of Evangelical Churches hosted early Oakdale Park Camp Meeting Association, which was organized August 20th, 1849. When they voted to buy 20 acres of woods from Frank Smith, and that later added 7 acres. So that's how that started. The Churches of Freeport District of Evangelical Churches had been meeting for 4 years in the Shannon Village Park. The Oakdale Association was made up of 40 churches from as far away as Dixon and Chadwick to Stockton and all the way north to the state line. So the whole group of these evangelical churches that did this. In 1865, Oakdale Oak Acres was cleared, fenced, and a tabernacle, dining hall, and dormitory were built. Galen, can you start that now? Church camp meetings were reportedly also held at Riviera Park. I'll wait till that comes up. I told him to pause, so that's my fault. not be dark enough with the lights on.
It's warming up.
Okay. So church camp meetings were reportedly also held at Riviera Park, just south of Oakdale, at the Lena Tabernacle, in the former Methodist campgrounds in Lena, and at a tabernacle where the VFW once stood in the arcade. I've not seen any pictures of that, but people say that there was one there. So this is what the tabernacle would look like for an event. Now you can see that it's somewhat similar in shape and size to the one that's there now. The sides are open, and people would stay in those tents out there. There were also cabins and all sorts of places that people could stay for these 2-week August religious activities. The mortgage was burned August 30th, 1914, after they built that. The 10-day events each August were eagerly anticipated by throngs of people, many of whom lodged in the dorm or numbered white tents. Cottages were added to the grounds at a later point. Anybody remember the cottages before they were torn down? There were a whole bunch of cottages. Where the shelter is right now, if you look over to your right, that whole area was filled with cottages that people built for these things, for these events. Galen, you want to switch to the next one? So there again is the tabernacle. You can see that that one has doors. The current one has sliding doors. Those doors flipped up. And that's the old one. In 1901, lodging at the hotel or tent was 25 cents per night, and the program schedule mentions a post office, laundry, telegraph office, and barber shop on the grounds. Go ahead and switch that. Feed and water for horses cost 30 cents, and the use of a feed trough per team was 15 cents. Admission to events was 10 cents. So people were coming from far and wide. They might have come on horses, they might have come on a train. Where the shelter is now, just across the blacktop road there is a tree line. That's where the train would come to drop people off. Again, these are pictures that probably came from Tiger's book or from other memorabilia. You can see that they're not very clear, but they're dressed in their finest wool clothes in August. Tents all over in the background, and then you can see the tabernacle sitting there as well. So it was quite a production for the people to come there for those 2 weeks in August. Attendees could experience sunrise services, classes with visiting missionaries, handcrafts, sports, Saturday night banquets, musical presentations, lectures, celebrations of Old People's Day, Young People's Day, plus special speakers, inspired preaching, and social interaction. Not very clear, but those are some of the pictures of some of the cabins that were out there scattered in those woods. I don't know what year those were torn down. Tiger, do you remember? Does anybody know? I forgot to see that. They were there for a long time, but then torn down. Some sermons in the early days were preached in both German and English, and friendly rivalries occurred between churches to see which could boast the most attendees to get a special banner. Remember, there were 40 churches that could have been bringing people. Go ahead. The tabernacle was a site of summer revivals with preachers, speakers, teachers, and later musicians, showmen, and specialists of the day. The Hotel Oakdale, that burned down. There was a lodge that was built later. Many of you probably were in the lodge. That was before that was torn down. Those who went out there for certain events might have stayed in the lodge. They said that they don't know how that one burned down, but it did. So people could stay in there. They could stay in the tents. They could stay in the cabins. After the fire in 1915, A.C. Woods Company of Rockford, primarily a bridge builder, was hired to build a tabernacle that stands today. That's an old one. That's a book about the camp meeting. That's the old one. Go ahead, next one too, Galen. And then one more. Again, some of the tents that are out there. He was hired to build the tabernacle that stands today, utilizing steel beams for durability and modeled after the Lena Methodist Camp Group Tabernacle. Does anybody remember that one in Lena? I think, Doug, you were, okay. I don't know when that was torn down, but it was a big one.
58, I think.
Okay, 1958. So that was a big one. I think it's on the end of Butternut Street or something like that. You can see where it was, but that was big, big too. It was designed to be octagonal in shape. It's 100 feet in diameter and 46 feet high at the apex of the circular roof in the cupola. Construction began immediately once the burned debris was removed, and amazingly, the current tabernacle was ready 2 months after the fire for the camp meetings in August of 1915. How that person was able to do that in 1915 to put up the steel inside with the equipment that they had at that time, that's pretty amazing. The initial cost reported to be $2,260 for the steel work and $2,300 for carpentry work, just sort of short of $5,000 total that some had anticipated. Go ahead and switch to the next one, Galen. So there's the Lena Tabernacle. I don't know what year that was taken. Doug said it was torn down in 58, so sometime before that. It was the same kind of looking building. Looked pretty good at that point in time. No idea why that one got torn down. For perspective, other significant events which took place in 1915 when this thing was built. The current tabernacle has been standing since the second year of World War I. We entered the war in 1917. The Lusitania was sunk by a German submarine in 1915. The Chicago River steamer, the Eastland, sunk, killing 800 plus people. As I recall, everybody rushed to one side and the boat tipped over and they drowned. Rocky Mountain National Park was established. The original Freeport YMCA was opened downtown or on the corner there. The cornerstone for the Masonic building had been placed 4 years before, 1911. And Babe Ruth hit his first major league home run. So lots of exciting stuff was going on. From the Journal Standards, looking backward news clippings, articles, as the tabernacle's focus started to change. August 20th of 1964, a cement floor replaced hay and wood shavings, and June 30th, 1965, permanent wood panels were added to the front of the tabernacle. I don't quite understand that, but there must have been some siding missing there. That was in 1964. If you've been out there, you know there's concrete. It's kind of rough. I didn't know until I looked this up that that's been there since I was a freshman in high school, a long time ago. September 3 of 1965, and again this is reporting looking backward from the Journal Standard. The Illinois Central and Great Western Railroads are stopping at the tabernacle to accommodate camp meeting attendees. There were a lot of people coming from far and wide. Go ahead and switch that view. So this is Riverside Park. So this stuff doesn't exist there today. But they had group of cottages. They also had ceremonies there. I don't know who had those cottages. I know that Riviera Park was predominantly or seemed to be a Catholic gathering place, but maybe there were more people that were there. And so the people built these cottages themselves, the same as at Oakdale. They put them up themselves. And again, none of those exist there today. The 25th anniversary of the Tabernacle Camp Meeting Association was held August 19 through 29 of 1965. So that was one of the final ones. By 1954, attendance was dwindling, and the last camp meeting was held at Oakdale in 1967. The year I graduated from high school, a long time ago. Over the years, visitors arrived by train, carriages, horseback, foot, and later automobiles. There was a hotel, many cabins, and a chapel on the grounds. A swimming pool was added in 1962. We'll go ahead and switch that. The Chautauqua movement very good picture, but you can see that the doors there were swinging open. This is the current one. The doors would swing open, the lift there. Bad picture. The Chautauqua movement was rising nationwide and may have influenced the types of events and activities being attended at the Tabernacle, a trend that prevailed into the Park District ownership years. So as it started, it was evangelical church. It was primarily religious stuff. It started to change, that Chautauqua movement, and I don't know too much about how much of that really happened at Oakdale. I'm assuming quite a bit. But it started to change from primarily religious to other sorts of activities. And also, people stopped coming. On June 24th of 1967, the Oakdale Camp Meeting Association proposed to transfer the Oakdale property to the Illinois Conference of the Evangelical United Church of the Brethren. So that's happening in 1967. And that transfer was completed in January of 1968. In 1968, the title to Oakdale was transferred to the Methodist Rock River Conference. So there were all these conferences, these churches that went together, and many of them were evangelical. The records ended up in the Methodist Church here, Faith United Methodist Church, but the evangelical group had most of them. Okay, so nobody wants to go to something like that. But, old People's Day. Yeah, and that Old People's Day. Okay, so you can see what's going on there. The hoary head is the crown of glory if it be found in the way of righteousness. So a sunrise prayer, and you can see who was there. There's a couple bishops that's doing some stuff. And the same order will be maintained this year as last. One of the younger brethren will again express the appreciation the younger generation feels toward the fathers and mothers of the church. Who can ever forget the experience of last year on Old People's Day? Yeah. So it went from morning, sunrise, to evening. Okay, you want to switch that, Galen? The 50th anniversary, we already talked about that. A lot of people gathering. That was in 1944. Go ahead and switch to the next one. So there were rules and regulations if you wanted to be at the Oakdale. First bell is going to ring at 5:30 a.m. So you were there not to relax. You were there to be revived, to be evangelized, I guess. Okay. When campers who are well are expected to rise and prepare for the day. The bell will ring 5 minutes before each service day during the day. The bell at 6:40 indicates the time for family prayer. So the whole thing was regimented in the early days. I don't know how long this went on. So that you can also see that you can't have profanity, you can't have loud talking and disorderly conduct. You can't have smoking and talking and moving about during services, not going to be tolerated. And lawn tennis, bicycling, croquet, and the like are forbidden on the grounds. So it was very serious. Hammocks and swings must not be up on the Sabbath and must not be placed within the circle or on the avenue at any time. So the cottages were lined up in avenues, rows and rows and rows, because there were a lot of those cottages and tents. Garbage or refuse must be placed in the barrels, blah, blah, blah. Groceries and provisions will not be sold on the Sabbath, so be prepared. There will be a lunch and provision stand and parcel room on the ground. Tent holders can purchase groceries, provisions, etc. And the Lord's Day, nothing but regular meals and lunch will be sold. So again, very regimented. The location, same location it is now. And they told people how to get there. And on the line of the Great Western Railroad, not far from Illinois Central, both roads have elevated platforms and will sell tickets to Oakdale, the name they have given the station. And you can see what the rate there, maybe you can't read that, I don't know if I can barely read it. So you can buy those tickets there. We sell excursion tickets at 1 1/3 rates for the round trip between LaSalle and Council Hill, Blanchardville,
Clarno, and all the intermediate stations. So there was a lot of, the trains were a big deal here. All the train tracks are gone now, really. Now some bicycle trails, but you could get from place to place somewhat easily. What can you do with your baggage? There's a post office and a telegraph. And you submit your mail and telegraph should be addressed to Oakdale Park, Freeport, Illinois. And a barber shop on the grounds. So it was a regular city for the 2 weeks, and maybe a little bit longer. It doesn't say anything about a hair salon, but there's a barber shop. So, and people, I don't know about laundry. People wore all those woolly clothes, so I don't know what they did with those.
You want to switch it again, Galen?
Horse yards, sheds for horses, lot drawing. The drawing for the location of tents will take place on Thursday, August 3 at Freeport Trinity Church. So you couldn't just put up your tent anywhere. You had to draw a lot to get your spot. And if the patron is not able to be present, he should write to the reverend and they'll get his place picked out. Okay? Oakdale Park Camp Meeting Association even had their own checking account. First National Bank of Freeport, I don't know which one that is, or was. It looks like where Fair Graham is now, but it probably might not be. Okay, Galen?
It's a
Yeah.
black check. Go ahead.
So, as things are starting to change and moving away from strictly religious to trying to get other things out there, there was a need for a swimming pool. How many of you swam out there or had, several, or had, what's her name? Wilhelm's, Opal. Opal was the teacher. And that swimming pool, if you can visualize, when you pull in, if you go to the left, there was a spot back there where the swimming pool was. It did say in some of the stuff here that when it stopped being a swimming pool, it became a frog pond. I don't know what that was for. I think that means it was neglected. So swimming is the primary recreation at camp. So now we're starting to talk about a camping program. And now the religious thing, there were camp meetings. This is something different here. The camp rental of the pool has cost the camp $500 each year. The limited time and inconvenient hours that the Freeport YMCA pool is available is a major problem for our campers. So even though there was a pool at that building on the corner there, what street that is, or kitty corner across the street from the Farm Bureau, that wasn't convenient. So they decided to take their own. 1962, appointed a committee to prepare a report and present recommendation plans and plan of finance at a special call meeting. Contract was signed when $10,000 was on hand that they raised. $5,000 of this came from the camp treasury, which had been accumulated from rental grounds during the past 4 years. Pool is reinforced concrete and so on. Okay, Galen, go ahead and turn that. Cost is $32,850. The advantage of the pool, program could be better scheduled. Once again, campers don't have to leave the ground. Campgrounds would more adequately serve the local church programs for retreats, etc. More desirable for rental by other church groups. And could be water for fire protection. Challenge is yours. This is an appeal to churches, organizations, and individuals to make sure that that pool could be put together. Next one. Oakdale Homecoming Rally Day of Service, 1967. The note burning service. The churches of the Oakdale area and friends have manifested a deep interest in the Oakdale campgrounds by contributing of their money for the liquidation of the debt on the swimming pool. The last dollar of indebtedness has now been paid, the mortgage has been canceled and lifted. We present it to you to be burned with appropriate ceremony. So, very, very much of a ceremony. Day of Victory. Okay, go ahead, Galen. There's the pool.
I think that's Kathy.
It is the one that's going like this.
With a cat.
It might be. Okay. Okay, these are the articles, the clippings that I was talking about. You can't really read them there, but some of the things that I highlighted are in there. Some of this stuff is probably from Tiger's book. talks about where it's transferred to the conference, how it's been changed. The Freeport Park District bought the church campgrounds in 1971 and created the Oakdale Nature Preserve. That's another one of those unforgettable days at Oakdale. Harriet Gustafson, again, interesting reading. She was a jewel, wrote many things, and she got these pictures and wrote this really interesting story about the thing. Okay, Gail. Still in 1968, now we got the sliding doors that are on there. Looks the same, looks in pretty good shape. Okay. Park District, not there yet. Go ahead, Galen. Inside, this is 1968. In the very back of where there's a big dirt pit now where we tore all the stages out. People were sitting on the stage for the church, as well as in the next one, you'll see they're sitting in the front. So, go ahead, Galen. So, the benches were there, and the stage, that's changed already there from that last picture, but that was the setup for the church services. Go ahead, Galen. 1968. Anybody see themselves in there? Somebody did one time when I showed this. Now, last Sunday, 14 Methodist churches from the area held a Pentecost service. There were 250 people in there for the church service. That's the second year they've done that. We don't have the benches, but brought chairs, and it could have held more people. Go ahead, Jim. Other things that were going on out at Oakdale. Lincoln Douglas debate reenactment, 1994. C-SPAN was there. Played also at the Windashek. Okay, Galen. 2020, there's a little better picture of that. I don't think that can blow up, but that's what it looked like just before the Save the Tabernacle group got the lease. You can see that there's vines growing on the side, the roof is deteriorating, and going from there. So anyhow, the Park District bought the campgrounds in 1971, created the Oakdale Nature Preserve. In 74, the Bill Gelwick Nature Center was dedicated. That was part of was on the end of the lodge. And that sort of, the lodge disappeared, and Gelwick Nature Center kind of disappeared too. Stephenson County residents have fond memories of the many varied activities that took place here, including weddings, plays, church services. The Willow Folk Festival was out there. Dan Danielowski and some Winnashek folks put on a play. Maybe it was Annie, I can't remember. Several plays they put on. The Willow Folk Festival and other musical events and plays. Scouting events, reunions. Highland had events out there. Other businesses had meetings and events out there. In 2012, the Park District closed the Tabernacle for public use, and it sat unused for years. Brad Gusloff carved that. You know who Brad is? You know Brad? Well, we have that inside. They cut the top off of it, and we've stored that. But you can see in that picture, the doors are sliding open. It was kind of yellow at that point in time. It's kind of white now, trim. So in 2012, they closed it. In 2020, the Tabernacle was slated for demolition, but after much discussion, public outcry from several people in this room, another plan was made to save the Tabernacle intervention and its Tabernacle status today. Go ahead, Galen. Just before our group was able to get the lease, we were out there. There was a big bonfire, a kumbaya celebration where people were praying that the Tabernacle would not be torn down. It was a solemn day in the winter. Okay. There's a couple of these pictures. Oh, and Bernie was even there. He's always standing up for righteousness.
I did that.
Kathy Wilkins did that.
I'll admit.
Okay, next one. So again, that's a picture we saw earlier, but you can see that there was stuff growing up all over the sides. The paint was all peeling. The roof was in bad shape. This was before our group took over. It's a beautiful, still a beautiful site no matter what. There you go. Other tabernacles in the area. Adeline has a tabernacle. That's still available. It's a long, narrow building. They have a church camp there, right in Adeline. They still use it. This is the Waldorf Tabernacle. That is in Des Plaines. It's operated, that was built in 1867. It's huge. It's condemned as 110 feet in diameter. Operated by the Chicago District Campground Association. You can drive into this. It's north of O'Hare Airport, right River Road, and there's tons of cabins and houses. There are people who were living there, renting these houses from the Campground Association. But you know, this place was huge. Go ahead, Galen. This is the Shelbyville one. This is the gem. This is the jewel. This is the largest enclosed chautauqua in the world. It's 150 feet in diameter, 475 feet circumference, seats 5,000, restored in 2021. It was aided by a local tax referendum. It's right in the middle of a park in Shelbyville. And the city decided that it had a gem there and they needed to fix it up. It's all wood, where our tabernacle structure is steel. It's all wood. It almost looks like the rigging of an old sailing ship. The stage is set up during the war, and the war years, maybe I don't know which war, but probably two, that was filled with gravel and they parked machinery, weapons of war inside there to store them. But if you ever go to Shelbyville and you go to that park, that is worth seeing. Oh, there's Kathy Wilkin and Joe Kanosky signing the lease with Ron, who was the park person at the time. August 21st, I think, of 2021. We got a 20-year, $20 a year lease. It's kind of like a Huckleberry Finn thing. You guys fix that up for us and we'll let you do that. You can raise the money and we can do that. It still belongs to the park. Still belongs to all of you. We're just fixing it up. So Jennifer is going to talk about this a little bit.
Okay,
Kathy
so
was there too.
I belong to a group called 100 Women Who Care, and some of you in this room belong to, and, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And after submitting the name for receiving the funds, after a series of months and years, we were selected to receive this money. And this is a picture of the group that gave the money and that were on the committee to receive the money. And so it was a really big boost in the arm for us to get a sizable donation like this. So I keep asking, you can request funds once a year. Once you've won, you have to wait a year. So I keep going. So hopefully someday it'll happen again.
Yeah, this was about $13,000. It was the first major fundraising thing. Kathy Wilkin had gotten a grant from Landmarks, Illinois to do some of the cleanup in the building. But this was a big shot in the arm to get going with some of the things we had to do because we hire contractors to do many of the things. Go ahead, Galen. And again. And this is the steering committee members at that time. You can see all those people since then. We've had, oh, Juliet's on there. Okay. And Gary Cook is on there as well. Okay? So, we're starting to clean up. We hired Oak Leaf Home Company to start doing some demolition work inside. This thing was a sound booth, the light booth that was in there. It was pretty big, and we decided that it needed to be taken out, and they did that. Next one. There was a lift that to go up and repair the cupola windows. They were in very bad shape. They've been replaced now with brand new windows, but we fixed those up because they were broken windows and whatever. But it's 50 feet up there, so the lift going up there. And when the cupola repair was going on, somebody had to go up there in that thing and build their own scaffolding to do the work. Go ahead, Galen. The stage. There were 3 stages. What was left when the stages were gone was that dirt pit there. And that's what we're going to, our next fundraising is going to be to put concrete in there and then to build the stage back. Kortner's Custom Incorporated brought out a lift so we could do power washing. Go ahead, Galen. And professional power washing services, wash the benches, wash the inside. Kathy and Doug did most of the cleanup inside. That was a horrendous job that they did, but it needed to be done. There was years and years of raccoon living in there. It was a big mess. And bats and stuff. So here we start to see the siding. And you can see that this side here has some primer on it. The back side has still, maybe we had started scraping the paint there, but it was pretty rough. And years of deferred maintenance and I guess almost neglect led to that. So that's what's going on now. We had some volunteer helpers for United Way Day of Action who came out and helping put some primer on. And look at that. There's our sign, there's a group, some in this room, and that's, instead of Save the Tabernacle, we go by the name Oakdale Tabernacle now, but we're restore and revive, and that's what we're hoping to do. Next one. So, when we finally got things started to be cleaned up and felt comfortable letting people go inside, we had an open house, community celebration, May 22nd, 2022, a year or so after we got the building. Long time ago. And there's who we, well, look at that, Tiger Johnson was the first one up there. Reverend Bear, he's from Stockton. They were at the service on Sunday. He and his wife Judith, he's retired. He was one of the people who was at the vote when they decided to get rid of the camp meeting possessions and sell it to the other group. He said that was a sad day for him, but that was part of it. Oh, Dr. Andy Dvorak was there too, speaking. One of the problems with that building is it's designed to be an amphitheater. It is an amphitheater. So if you're in the front, you can talk and project. But everybody else is talking in the back, interfering with the people who are trying to talk. So Andy, I don't know if anybody even heard you, because nobody heard you. And Molly Doolittle was playing the flute, and I don't know if they heard her. Tiger was playing his portable Civil War piano. I don't know if people heard him or not, but they did. So go ahead. So if you haven't been to the tabernacle, this is what it looks like. The glory of the sunshine coming through. This is before we got the new roof and new roof boards, but it's just a big wide open space. At one time, not at one time I guess, it was the largest freestanding, not freestanding, but unobstructed space that you could have for an event. The Masonic, of course, is wide open, but it's not like that. And we like to take pictures where the sun is shining through. You can see the concrete, looks pretty good still. It is cracked in some places and uneven, but for a 1964 job, they did pretty well. Okay? Again, we marvel at the construction, how that person put all that stuff up in 1915 in 2 months with the kind of tools and equipment they must have had. Of course, there was no OSHA, there were no regulations, so who knows what they did. Just put it up. It's quite amazing. Go ahead, Galen. There we go. Everybody knows who that is, I think, or not. Marjorie Phillips. Okay, there's these cutout things out there, and she was there for the open house, and so there's 3 of these, and she decided she'd get her picture taken in one of them. Okay, Galen. Now we'll look at there's Tiger. What is that thing called you play?
That's a World War I chaplain's pump organ, what they call it.
Okay.
1904.
Okay. So he's pumping that and playing it and singing it, and people did enjoy that. So thank you for bringing that out there. It was very nice of you to do that. Okay, Galen. Pretzel City Strummers have been out at least once, maybe twice for events. That happened to be at the band show at Craig Park. Terry Wernz has donated the picture on the far side. If we ever are able to have a real big fundraising event, we have that picture to auction off. He also did drawings of the cupola that we have in postcards that we sell from time to time. Another of Terry's paintings. Now, to me, this is what Harriet Gustafson was talking about. I look at that picture and I think somebody is walking out there, and you know, it's kind of eerie. I took the picture, but I always like this because it does give you that eerie sense of something mysterious. Who, you know, all those people that were out there from 1915. What are they? You know, what were they thinking? What were they doing? What did they do during the day? Well, you know, they were regimented. They went to this, and this, and this, and this. They ate their meals. They rode their horses. They did whatever. But it's quite amazing. Save the Tabernacle, our group, is a non-for-profit 501c3. Was granted a 20-year, $1 a lease in August of 2021 by the Park District. Not easily, a lot of fighting. The group has taken on the challenge of bringing this one-of-a-kind building back to its rightful place in our community through private donations and foundation grants. Kathy's gotten 2 of those foundation grants. Despite years of deferred maintenance and disrepair, the Oakdale Tabernacle is a unique gem, which represents an historic cultural touchstone to this area's shared heritage. The combination of the religious and cultural history, the strength of the construction, and all its former uses make it important for our community to preserve and celebrate the Oakdale Tabernacle for future generations. This unique building is the last structurally sound, steel-girded, safe-to-use tabernacle remaining in Illinois. No other one like it. That's got sides that you can go in. The vision of the Save the Tabernacle group is to restore it by honoring its historic roots while creating a versatile space for use in our current times. We want to be able to have all kinds of different things out there, different events, whatever people like. We believe that the revival of Oakdale Tabernacle can serve as a project to bring people together to once again gather in unity. And we have a list of accomplishments. I'd like to read some of those. In the fall of 2021, volunteers cleaned the tabernacle, mostly Kathy and Doug, and then we power washed that. In the summer of 2022, volunteers from the Madmen group and others scraped the peeling paint and applied a coat of primer. Summer of 2023, MAS Roofing replaced hundreds of board feet of interior roof boards, and the main and cupola roofs were shingled. And they did a beautiful job. If you have Facebook, you can see they did a drone view of that roof, and it's beautiful. Lesher HVAC donated a copper finial and placed it on top of the cupola. It's beautiful. Summer of 2024, Justin Kortner Construction replaced the siding of the cupola and installed new custom wood windows. Rebuilt the whole thing practically. In the fall of 2024, volunteers applied exterior contrast trim paint to the support pillars. All work has been funded through tax-deductible private donations, 2 small foundation grants, and lots of volunteer help. And I want to stress this, that no local, state, or federal funds have been used. Generous supporters have already contributed well over $150,000 to this project, and much work remains. Another campaign has begun as we work toward the next project of pouring concrete to support a new stage. We hope to raise an additional $40,000 for this work. Recent and upcoming events have been held at Oakdale and the Tabernacle. May 10th, the Tabernacle was open for Migratory Bird Day. June 7th, the Kona, Council of Native Americans, held Education Day. From 9 to 5, there were 200 visitors to the park that day. June 8th, Pentecost Sunday service by 14 Methodist churches. 250 worshipers were inside. 2 weddings are being planned for later in the summer, and an October Fall Festival at Oakdale will be the last event there. So I think that's all the slides. Oh, there's one more, I think. No, 2 more maybe. That's how the building looks today. New roof, new cupola, new windows, contrast trim applied. 1 more maybe.
That's it.
Nope, guess not. Didn't get on there. Okay, never mind. So are there any questions? Yes?
What does Chautauqua mean?
The Chautauqua was a nationwide movement that provided arts, education, historical things. People would come around. I'll read some of the ones.
At Shelbyville, hosted lecturers, preachers, politicians, entertainers. John Philip Sousa Band, William Jennings Bryan, orator, Billy Sunday, famous evangelist. There are rumors that he came to Oakdale, but I can't verify that. Carrie Nation, and other things like that. It was a source of entertainment, education for people. It started in New York and spread throughout the country. So it was a way for people, no television, no radio, for people to have some entertainment as well. That's different than the religious part. I think that was separated. Those two didn't mix so much. Jennifer?
But I think the word Chautauqua comes from a name of a town in New York where this movement began. And it's probably a Native American word for a place.
Yes, Connie?
Did you save the benches or not?
We had to take the benches apart because the support structures are all rotten. We've got them saved. We don't know if we're going to be able to use some of them or not, but we do have
So
them.
do you have, long-term perhaps, a seating plan for in there, or?
Well,
What do you think about that?
personally, the benches could be used for some things, but if you put the benches in, that kind of limits what you can do. They're heavy.
can you move them
gotta-
in and out?
You gotta move them in and out. So we haven't figured that out yet.
It is, okay.
Once they're there, they're there. So we're trying to figure out how to do that. We did save all the seating. Some of them are split, but the bottoms were all bad.
But right now, people are bringing their own seating. And we all have those bag chairs, and that's what the church
Yeah,
has.
yeah.
And that works out pretty well. We do have access to some chairs that are in the other building, so.
Because one of the things, I thought about, one of the things you can use, or, what sort of events you can host or bring in groups and not every group is gonna be willing to bring their bag chairs.
Correct.
And, tables and what, I just suggest that that's something long-term.
That's a long-term,
Yeah.
but for right now, because we're sort of in this, do it
Oh, I
yourself
get it.
mode, everyone's been
I get
very
it,
helpful.
I get it.
We may have to go to the point where, for example, at Highland, when they have like graduation, you rent chairs. You may have to do
Right.
something like that, and then you can haul. Or if we get the stage built like we talk about with storage underneath, we might be able to get chairs.
So are you doing kind of a concrete stage then completely?
No, the stage won't be concrete. It's the platform.
It will
that-
be a wooden platform?
Yeah, we don't know exactly what it'll be, but the concrete is just to fill the pit. Who else had a question? Yeah, Andy. Go ahead, Diane.
Okay, I never knew they had a swimming pool. That's interesting. How long was the swimming pool in use? Why did they decide they're not gonna have it anymore? What happened to it? Did they,
Well, it was built in 1962. I have no idea how long. Tiger, do you have any idea how long it was? No.
Into the 70s.
Yeah, into the 70s. Opal Wilhelm taught, people say, well, I learned to swim out there, but we really don't know. It probably was hard to maintain, all those things. Maybe the rules and regulations changed about safety and stuff like that. I really don't know.
so you don't know when it stopped being used?
No.
And what
It's not,
happened?
nothing's there. So
I'm gonna say,
whatever's there was gone.
I'm gonna say, did they take it out and just fill it in with dirt?
Probably so. Andy?
You had the Old People's Day. What year was that?
I didn't see that date. There was a Young People's Day too.
There was, but I thought it was very significant that they had the sermon in both German and then in English.
By
So-
the same pastor.
By the same master.
Yeah.
So it shows how powerful the word of immigration
Yeah.
was, whatever, that was
Yeah, I'm guessing it was,
40s.
I'm thinking before that, but I don't know. I should have
Very
dug a little deeper in that one. Yes, Doug?
I'd just like to point out that the Park District has not committed $1 to the Tabernacle.
Right.
Not yet. We're hoping.
So again, no tax money, so it's all donations. It belongs to everybody. After 20 years, the park, it belongs to the park, it belongs to you. But we took the challenge to fix it up, and little at a time, it's one project at a time. That's been our strategy. Raise some money, do a project. Raise some money, do a project. Yes?
I missed the first part of your talk, pardon me for being late, but was this founded by a church, by a group of churches? Was it founded by a religious denomination? Was it founded by a group of religious denominations? Who started the whole thing way back when it was the first one?
The churches of the Freeport District of Evangelical Churches, Freeport District Evangelical Churches, had been meeting in the Shannon Village Park. The association was made up of 40 churches from Dixon to Stockton to Wisconsin. So it's an evangelical church movement. Became the Methodist Church at the end, had the archives and things, but that's how it started.
Church of the Brethren was one.
Yeah, Church of the Brethren.
One of the biggest ones.
Right, Church of the Brethren was a big part of it too.
So would other Baptist revivalists, would they be allowed to preach in there? Or?
I have no idea.
I'm thinking not.
Not at that time.
Not at that time, no. Later on, maybe. It was strictly these evangelical churches, because they had these camps for 2 weeks at a time.
One thing I learned in doing some research was that because it was very denominational, that the Catholics didn't have a place there, so that's why they bought Riviera Park, because they could have their events in that, and that's just adjacent, if you know where Riviera Park is. It's just down Cranes Grove Road, so it's right nearby. And it's a beautiful piece of property, but that was why they went there, because they weren't invited in.
So it was the evangelical movement, and Church of the Brethren was a big part of it as well. So 40 churches. Anything else? Yes.
So August goes on in August. What happens the rest of the year?
I think nothing happened the rest of the year.
Kind of like the fairgrounds.
I think-
Big thing for the fair and then.
Maybe Tiger knows. I mean, that's all. Our assumption is they had them for 2 weeks, and probably with some prep, maybe some cleanup, but and that was it. Tiger, do you know, was there other activities out there in those early days?
Not really. You see, there were so many people that were Christians back then. Like in 1997 or 98, the same week, Lena had a whole week of 10 days. They come on Thursday or Friday. And then the next week, Oakdale started on that weekend that Lena had. And Lena had like 8,000, Oakdale had 7,000. There was a camp meeting in Monroe. I got it on one page in the book. And in the old settlers' days, on a Thursday once a month, or once a year, I can't think of it now, yeah, once a year, in August, they were on the same week. So all the thousands of people around this area were there. They weren't watching TV or anything.
Right.
And everything got used, you know.
Yeah. I think it sounds like, you know, the different county fairs. You know, here's one service is here. But as Tiger said, there could be 5,000 to 7,000 people out at the Oakdale property for these 2-week events. So it was a big deal. Anything else? I do have some brochures here, if anybody would like one. That was supposed to be the last picture on my PowerPoint that I didn't get, but this was our Join the Revival of an Illinois Treasure. We'll put them out there if anybody wants those. I encourage you to go to the local history room at the Freeport Public Library to look at the archives, and there's other pictures. These are just a few of the pictures to learn about. Tiger spent a lot of time, I think he said 4 years.
The Oakdale book is probably 180 pages. The book is at the library.
Yeah, it's fascinating. He got all that information. And Roseanne Kuhlmeyer had stuff also from the Faith United Methodist Church, some of the archives there. So very important part of Stephenson County history. It was something that was happening all around the states, all around the nation, all around this area. It was very important. Mary?
Unfortunately, the history room is only open 4 mornings a week.
Okay. Find out what days those are open. If you really, it's really interesting to read, especially Tiger's compiled book. Thank you very much.
Stay here with your mic. I'm Galen Bertram, treasurer of the Cedarville Historical Society, and thank you, Joe. It was really interesting. We had some online comments about how interesting it was. Didn't know anything about it, and now they know. So thank you for all of you that came in person. Thank you to the people online that watched. I just maybe mention a couple things. we and all of the other museums in Stephenson County have started a passbook to the past. And we have some brochures down on the desk. If you have an interest in going to all 10 locations between now and I believe September 1st, you can get it stamped, and if you get all of them stamped, then you get to submit your passport and have a chance of winning this humongous big basket of goodies. So I don't know what's in it, but I hear it's good. The other thing I'd like to mention, mark your calendars online or here. Our next program is July 15th at 7 o'clock, and it features our own Andy Dvorak. I affectionately like to call him Dr. Andy Dvorak, because we get a bigger audience that way, you see. And it didn't work for me. And he's going to give a presentation about the relationship between President Lincoln and John Adams.
Actually, Lincoln's influence on Jane Addams through John Adams.
Okay, I was corrected. Lincoln's influence on Jane Addams through John Adams. So that'll be a very interesting program. Those of you that have seen Andy make presentations before, he always does an excellent job. So please mark your calendars and come back for that. And the last thing I'll mention is, as always, Lisa has prepared wonderful refreshments in the other room. So please go to the other room and have
I've got one more thing. The Tabernacle is an ongoing work project. We don't know when we're going to start the next concrete project, so we can't tell you when the Tabernacle's open. We do have signs that we try to put out if the Tabernacle's open, but if somebody's out there working and the doors are open, come on in and take a peek if you haven't been in. And October, I can't remember what the date will be, but the Fall Festival for the Park District advertises, that'll be the next big time we can guarantee that it'll be open. Thank you.
Okay, thanks again.
It's hot in here.
I thought it was so interesting. I was really looking forward to this. Here's my teacher I used to have.
That was a long time ago.
Oh, that was just a blink of an eye, that's all. I remember a funny thing you said about Dr. Jennings, this Mr. J or something like that. You were teasing, hey, it's Dr. J. I understand this so funny. Hey, that was just, seemed like yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't know you were interested in that. When did you start being interested in the preservation?
When my wife and the people stormed the park board and said, we're going to fix it up.
Well, I was going to say, because I didn't remember that in Highland College, but then again, yeah, that was really very interesting. And also, my church, which is at Cedarville, in a church, they had some picnic thing out there just a couple of years ago.
They would have been part of it.
Yeah, and then I guess they're going to have something this year, some kind of picnic thing out there this year, and they had one another, what's it, 1 year ago, 2 years ago, they had a picnic thing, and I thought that was cool, you 1 or 2, you know.
Yeah, it'd be good.
You know, keep it up, you know, keep it up.
Well, good, page number 20, and he can
Yeah.